Robert sat at his desk one day, looking at his payslip, frowning at the portion crossed out and labeled tax. He couldn't help but wonder why such a large chunk of his hard-earned money disappeared before it even reached him. Curious, he went back to Rich Dad, ready to understand this mystery. Rich Dad smiled and said, "Robert, today we're going to talk about something most people never question. Taxes." Robert asked, "Why do we even pay taxes in the first place?" Rich Dad explained, "Taxes didn't always exist. They were introduced gradually, often during wars to fund governments. Over time, what started as a temporary measure became a permanent part of everyone's life." Robert was surprised. He'd never realized something so common today wasn't always this way. Rich Dad added, "And here's the tricky part. The tax system was first accepted by the rich, then later applied to everyone." Robert began to see that taxes actually affect the poor and middle class far more than expected. "So how do the rich pay less tax legally?" Robert asked. Rich Dad said, "It's not about paying less, it's about understanding how money legally flows through structures. An employee earns money, pays taxes first, and then spends what remains." Robert pictured his own paycheck being taxed before it even reached his hands. Rich Dad continued, "A corporation, on the other hand, earns money, spends on legitimate expenses, and only then pays taxes on what remains." Robert was struck by how different the order was. "This is one of the biggest lessons the rich understand," Rich Dad said. "The order in which money flows changes everything. This doesn't mean corporations avoid taxes illegally, it means they use legal structures wisely." To make it clearer, Rich Dad gave him a simple example. Imagine a food delivery driver who spends $200 every month on gas for his car. As an employee, that $200 comes out of money he's already been taxed on. It's just a personal expense. But if that same driver registers as a small business, that $200 in gas becomes a business expense. It gets subtracted before taxes are calculated, not after. Robert's eyes widened. So the same $200 is treated completely differently just based on how you're structured? Rich Dad nodded. Exactly. That's the power of understanding the rules. Robert asked, "So does that mean anyone can benefit from this idea, not just huge companies?" Rich Dad smiled. "Yes, small business owners and even independent workers can use similar principles at a smaller scale. Owning even a small business changes how you're allowed to treat certain expenses under tax rules. This is why financial education matters. Most employees never learn this because school doesn't teach it." "But is this only about saving money?" Robert asked, wanting to understand the deeper meaning. Rich Dad shook his head. "No, it's about understanding the rules of money so you're not controlled by them. The rich don't break the rules. They simply understand the rules better than everyone else." Robert began to realize this wasn't about loopholes, but about knowledge. Rich Dad continued, "This is also why understanding corporations matters. A corporation is simply a legal structure, not a physical building. It's like a legal body that can own assets, sign contracts, and pay taxes separately from you. This structure also protects personal assets from certain business risks. So a corporation protects both money and risk at the same time?" Robert asked, connecting the dots. "Exactly," Rich Dad said proudly. "That's why the wealthy often build businesses instead of relying only on a salary. And this isn't just for billionaires. Understanding this mindset benefits anyone willing to learn." Motivated, Robert went home and began researching small business structures on his own. He wrote in his notebook, "Learn the rules of money instead of only working for it." He slowly began tracking income and expenses in a ledger, and weeks later he registered his own small side business, proud and a little nervous about this new step. Rich Dad visited him and said, "This is how you begin thinking like the rich. Not through luck, but through structure." Robert studied his notebook, comparing his old employee mindset with his new business mindset, and shared his progress with his father. His father asked, "So this is legal and anyone can learn it?" Robert nodded confidently. His father slowly understood that this wasn't about avoiding responsibility, but about smart planning. That night, Robert reflected on how much his understanding of money had grown since his first lesson with Rich Dad. He wrote a final line in his notebook. "Understand the rules of money, and the rules stop controlling you." If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment below. What's one thing you learned about taxes and corporations today? And if you'd rather listen on the go, catch the audio version of this video on Spotify. The link is in the description, and hit that follow button on Spotify. In the next video, we'll explore Chapter 5. The Rich Invent Money. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.